I see that Mr. Goslin is here, and I asked the board at the beginning of this meeting if we could move discussion of the Lamprey easement complaint up to the first item of the new business. Is there still no objection to that? Okay, Mr. Goslin, you're still good with that? I see. Okay. So at the last select board meeting, Mr. Goslin asked specifically if this board would appoint Kathy Kilgore to investigate the theft of Northampton conservation easements. That's the language that was used in there. Subsequent to that meeting, I went out to do my homework on this and went to several different places, including the Director of Easement Stewardship for the Society of the Protection of New Hampshire Forests. I went to and that was Regan Bissonnette. I went to the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions and spoke with Barbara Richer, who's the executive director. I went to the Attorney General's office and spoke with Terry Knowles. Terry Knowles is, I'm going to forget her title. Terry Knowles is the Assistant Director of Charitable Trusts. There, I went to NHMA. Also to get information. And before we go any further, all of that information that I have here, I'm going to ask Brian that all of this be included in the minutes. So we don't have to transcribe anything, we don't have to summarize anything, but all that I have can be included as an appendix to the minutes. The sum and substance of this looking into the past about whether there have been any violations of the easement is, and I can make this short, is that there have been no violations. The Charitable Trust Unit concluded that the decision of the Conservation Commission was well supported by the language of the easement, and therefore the CTU, Charitable Trust, chose not to take any action. Again, I'm looking past. So then I went forward and when I asked Barbara Richard at the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, what happens if somebody makes a request, as Mr. Goslin has? The response back is, we need to have evidence of malfeasance or some sort of intentional act that somebody did something wrong on the Conservation Commission in order to have this kind of special investigation. Looking back, we don't have that evidence as concluded by charitable trusts or as concluded by the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions. Barbara Richard does include that in there. To confirm that, I went to, again, Terry Knowles to then find out, well, if we can't find evidence of malfeasance or an intentional violation or an intentional, I'm missing a word here, but an intentional act of a violation of your responsibilities or duties, what happens? Terry Knowles said the authority for investigating alleged violations of the terms of a conservation easement is bifurcated between the easement holder and the Attorney General. The easement holder, they would have to go to the Conservation Commission, and if they do not feel that if they feel that something has happened that is inconsistent, to go to the Attorney General's office. So in this case, the complaint should be brought to the attention of the easement holder, the Town of Northampton Conservation Commission, and the commission will take whatever action is necessary. Mr. Goslin sent an email over to the Conservation Commission requesting that they investigate. The Conservation Commission investigated this latest complaint, so we've gone back, and not to bring this all the way forward, has investigated the complaint and found that there has been no violation of the terms of the easement. And so I cannot find a way, this is going to sound odd. The next two comments I'm going to say are going to sound odd. I cannot find a way to get to yes for Mr. Goslin based on the conversations of the people who would know. But those people also appreciated Mr. Goslin, as I do, for the kind of diligence in looking into this. I just can't get to the answer of yes, except to say this now needs to be filed with the Attorney General's office. That's the best conclusion that I can come up with for you. And I hope that you can understand that I was trying to do this as impartially as I can. the only other piece of information that I have, if pushed on the issue about having a member of this select board serve to investigate whether there's malfeasance, I do not think, due respect, Mrs. Kilgore, that it can be you because you're signatory to 3 warrant articles or petition warrant articles that went on the ballot, one of which says, one of which was specific that it would return or overturn the decisions of the Morris Lamprey Conservation easement and return the land back to its original condition, which shows a predisposition to how this case would be or how this information would be decided. So I see a bias there, and in my investigation, while we don't have to adhere to the juris standard, it is preferable. Yes. I can't get to yes in this conclusion, and with all of that, I yield to the board for your thoughts on this. Maybe Kathy, to best start with you, because I've mentioned you and you were asked specifically about your thoughts on doing this.
I believe that the next step, I believe even if it could be investigated by, not necessarily by me, because like you said, I signed those warrant articles just to put them in front of the legislative body. Say it was Larry. I don't believe that this board investigating it could be considered unbiased. I think it has to go to a third party, and that third party is the Attorney General's office. That's just my feeling. I mean, either way, this board investigating it is going to be subject to whatever the decision that comes out. No one's going to be happy. Do you know what I mean? Because there's not unbiased. So I think it has to go to the Attorney General, and I would encourage, if you strongly feel that there's been an injustice done, that the easement is being violated, that the Attorney General's office is contacted regarding what has come to light now. That's what the basis is. It's not, it was already settled that the New Hampshire Charitable Trust and the Attorney General's office said the easement was fine as long as it was as though it was agricultural use. If now it's coming to light that it's not agricultural use, and I'm not saying either way whether it's not or not, it is or not, then that is basis to go to, I think, to the Attorney General's office for an inquiry.
Okay. Larry, thoughts?
Who should go to the Attorney General?
That has to be the
agreement. Lodged the complaint, not us.
Just an FYI, Terry Knowles did include new legislation in here, RSA 21:34A, which expands the use of agriculture. She included the entire RSA with in here emphasis added to the new language, which I was not speaking specifically about any complaint, but just about the nature of a complaint. So I did not send her any information about this as